Um, wow, dude. A lot has happened since the last time I did a video. Where's my cursor? That's so. There it is. Okay. Um. So the world has flipped out, and I really can pinpoint two reasons for this. One is the news, and two is social media. There have literally been billions of posts about the coronavirus. The coronavirus, which, by the way, have been many of them throughout the decades, and probably before we discovered it in the 1960s, there have always been cold viruses and things that have, taken out swaths of the population. And it's depressing because we lose loved ones, but it's also part of life. A lot of people die every day. A lot. Every day of a lot of things. And I think the difference with this is people think it's going to happen to them versus other things that still happen to them because they eventually die. They don't think it's going to happen, or there's a buildup, or there's like an illness that leads to it. So I think it's just more present for people. But you have to ask yourself, is it worth destroying the world economy for about 0.5 to 1% of the population? Now, I would say yes. Not destroy the world economy, but it's good that we're taking these measures. However, I would also say that this is why I beg people to create bike lanes and bicycle infrastructure, which, according to the argument against it, it's because it's only for 1% of the population. Only 1% of people bicycle commute. So we're destroying the world in one case, and we're completely ignoring the issues in the other case. And not only is it 1% of the population that bicycle commutes that is not being properly served by the community and risking their lives every day, but it's 20 to 50 million people every year get injured by automobiles, according to the World Health Organization. Now, when everybody's affected, even though it's still the same percentage, they completely changed the world in a matter of days, which is great. Like, we needed to do something. But at the same time, when it's just 1% of people they don't care about, nothing happens. Not nothing. Like, there have been some things, bike lanes show up here and there, but basically nothing happens. So I guess what I'm trying to point out is it's only when people perceive that it's going to affect them. But they all pretend that they're doing it for the community. We got to flatten the curve. We got to do this and that. We got to care about the old people. But they're all scared. That's why we're changing. Not because they care about old people. That's the cover. But if they really cared, they would try to prevent 50 million injuries every year. Every year, 50 million. That's insane. And we do nothing about it. Relatively nothing about it. We've changed the world for a chance that you might get sick. And we do nothing when people are dying and getting injured to the point where their lives are forever transformed. So let's put this in perspective. So when we ask for bicycle lanes, even though it's only 1%, which, by the way, it's much higher in a lot of places, and they act like that's not enough to do something, then I want to remind you about this when the statistics come in and we find out this was about 0.5% of the population that are being negatively affected by this disease. And we've changed everything within a matter of days, yet we do nothing for the bicyclists. Nothing. When they're dying, they are dying. 40,000 people every year die because of automobiles. 50 million people get injured every year because of automobiles. Yet one common cold virus comes around that affects 0.5% of the population, and the entire world is changing. It's great, and I'm glad it is, but can't we do that for something that's more proactive? I mean, look at Now that the world has changed, go look at a bike path. Look at the activity. Look at how much happier you are without the cars cluttering up everything. Look at how much better it is to work remotely, which why weren't we doing this before? People in offices, why weren't you working remotely? I don't understand. I do understand, and it's unfortunate, actually, that in order for humans to change, we need something that scares them. But what about if we don't wait for something that scares us? What about if we just change the system? What about the people that say that can never happen? All the people that said, oh, working remotely, that'll never happen. Well, guess where we're at right now? And guess what's happening? And yes, there are different jobs that can't do that and they're suffering and that's horrible. But just the people that can work remotely, we are fully functional. We have computers now. It's not 1970. So whatever you think can't happen can and will and has happened. So now it's our job to maintain it and to let go. Let go of things that you think we need. We don't need books. We have PDFs online. We don't need paper. We don't need plasticware. We can bring silverware to an office. We can bring silverware anywhere and reuse it. We can bring reusable containers to the market and fill them up. And they can, if they really are worried about germs, have a washing station in the front. We could bring laundry machines to office buildings so we don't have to use paper towels everywhere and wash them like they do in gyms, by the way, all across the world in gyms, including probably the gym you go to. They have devices called washing machines. All right. Let's move on to part 2. Part 2 is relax. Relax. You're going to be fine. Even if you get sick, there's an 80% chance you will not know you've had it. Which, by the way, is why it's spreading so much. Even the people that are dying, even people over 80, it's only about 20% mortality rate. That happens anyway when people that are old get the pneumonia. It's not to say that we shouldn't do anything about it, and we should, and I'm very glad that the retirement homes are limiting visitors and quarantining, and that's great. But those are things that we can do to slow the eventual truth that we're all going to get it. It's a virus that doesn't seem to die even in air. I've read a story that it can float around for 3 hours in air without dying, without being on a person or anything. Just floats around like the wind. So we're going to get this. So you're either going to die, or you're going to get sick, or you're not even going to know you have it. But one way or the other, we're destroying our lives because of it. We're destroying everything. And some of those things are good. Some of those things are pushing us into change. Like the fact that now people are working remotely, that people aren't driving everywhere. These giant vehicles that don't fit on roads. Cars weren't built for roads. Then why are we using them? Let me go to, before I leave the relax thing, let me go to phase 3. So concept 3. How do you feel when you watch the news? How do you feel when you scroll down someone's Facebook feed or your own Facebook feed? I don't even know how Facebook works. Do you feel happy? Do you feel angry? Do you feel agitated? Do you feel enlightened? I guarantee you, most people that watch the news, I was just at someone's house helping them fix their computer, and they had the TV on. I never watched the news. They had the TV on. I can see why people are freaking out. The news is terrorizing you. It's giving you all of the worst parts of society and putting it front and center and saying it like the end of the world is coming. And that may be true, but panicking and being afraid is not going to do anything. I saw, when I did go on Facebook, I saw someone posted that they were talking to their 13-year-old son through a window, a car window, because he might have the coronavirus. Your own son. Get sick and be with your son. What is wrong with people? There needs to be priorities. You have a 0.5% chance of dying, yet you're going to let your son die without you? No. Be with your family. Get sick with them. If you're young, you're going to be fine. Now, if you're parents are sick, or your grandparents or someone older, then don't go near them. Don't get them sick. But if you're young and healthy, I guarantee you've met someone already that has this virus, and they probably gave you some of their germs, and yet you're avoiding your family. Don't go to social events. That's great. Shutting down the bars, that's fine. Social distancing, getting rid of like big concerts, that's a great idea. But avoiding your son is not a good idea. Relax. Listen to scientists. Don't watch the news. Don't get information from news anchors. Don't get information from politicians. People watch the president for science information. Go Google a scientist. Look at scientists. Listen to what they're saying. Go to the Joe Rogan Experience. They had a guy on there who spent his whole professional career working on infectious diseases. Listen to that guy. He probably knows what he's talking about. Get your information from scientists, not from the news, not from news articles, not from bloggers. Get a scientist's opinion on science. It's not that hard. I'm getting really excited about this. If you want something to fear, about 100,000 people every year get injured. No, I'm sorry, every day get injured because of automobiles. 100,000 people every day are injured because of automobiles. 100,000. Do you understand what that number means? 20 to 50 million people every year get injured because of automobiles. If you want something to be afraid of, how about being afraid of your car? Or is it that you want your car and you want to keep driving it so you don't want people to realize, or you don't want to think yourself about how dangerous it is? Which brings me to number 4. Why do you think this is so dangerous? Are you afraid of dying? Are you afraid of getting sick? We might be afraid because everyone treats these people like lepers. We're supposed to flatten the curve. We're not supposed to abandon people. That means you don't go to big group gatherings. You don't hang around people that are sick on purpose that aren't your loved ones. But it doesn't mean it's not okay to spread this. It's a small percentage of chance that you're going to be negatively affected. And if you want to live your life without your family and watch them die over Skype, then that's fine with me. But people are treating each other like lepers. They're so afraid. That's what's driving this behavior. I went to the store. There were people around me. I didn't touch them. The lady who was being helpful at the register was grabbing my food. I said, please don't grab my food. Which, by the way, how ridiculous is that? That, like, I'm there bagging it and she's handing it to me to bag it. People don't think. I went to the store. There was the line. I, of course, had my bicycle because that's how I get around, because I don't want to contribute to the problem. And the guy said I couldn't bring my bicycle in. This is a store that I always bring it in, that I'm always allowed to bring it in. He said, it's our new policy. You have to use a cart. I said, okay, you're trying to limit germs, right? He said, yes. So I'm supposed to touch a cart that 1,000 people or more have touched before me, when I am the only person that has ever touched my bicycle. And if you want to talk about social distancing, letting me bring the friggin' bicycle in is probably a better idea than making me touch a cart that 100 or 1,000 people have already touched that day. They're not thinking. People are not thinking. Listen to scientists. Think. Analyze. Figure things out. Be open. Talk to friends. Change your opinion. Admit you're wrong. These are things that people never do anymore. You can admit you're wrong. When I first thought about the coronavirus, I thought it wasn't a big deal. It's about 5 to 10 times as deadly as the flu. 2% of the population already dies from the flu and pneumonia. But, I've realized that the faster it goes, the more overwhelmed the medical industry is going to be. This is a good thing. We're doing proactive. I've learned, I've adjusted my opinion. It's okay to be wrong. But listen to experts. Actually, I'm going to do one more thing. So just remember, when you're watching the news or when you're scrolling through Facebook and you get angry, like that post, oh, I can't believe they said that about my favorite politician or whatever. Remember what you're trying to do. First of all, you're angering yourself. You're probably getting more depressed and unhappy. Second of all, blaming a person, whether it's the person on Facebook or the person they're talking about that's in the public eye, blaming that person is going to do nothing. You can impeach someone, you can get rid of someone, you can blame someone, you can point fingers at a politician. Governor Newsom is doing horrible things right now for bicyclists. I'm not blaming him. I'm making a video to educate people on why we need bicycles. Because if you blame someone, you do nothing but alienate yourself. If you talk about what you want to have happen, you put good ideas in people's minds. You inspire people. We have to inspire each other. We have to tell people what we want, not what we don't want. This is why appreciation and positive feedback are effective. It's not because we all want to feel good. That's great. It's great to feel good. But it's information. It's useful information. It's not pointing a finger and just blaming someone without explaining what you want. All you're doing is pushing half your friends away. Just tell people what you want. Explain why you want it. Now, I get frustrated. I'm frustrated right now. But to point fingers and to blame politicians that I had never met, that I have no idea what they're going through, why they're doing what they're doing, it doesn't do any good. I'm not going to control that person at all. If I put ideas out there and people get energized around that idea, then that does some good. Because really the only behavior we can really control is our own. You have to lead by example. And some politicians, which I applaud them for, are saying things like, work locally. Why do they say that? Because first you can control yourself, then you can influence people around you. Putting a post on Facebook is not going to do anything for federal politics or state politics. It's not going to do anything. You have to live your life the way you want others to live it. You have to inspire other people to live it a certain way. But if they have a different opinion, they're entitled to it. I was talking with a friend who's pro-gun. I'm not pro-gun, but he has pretty darn good reasons why he wants guns. And so if I look at the statistics and I look at the impact of them and I look at the impact of not having them, I can see his argument. It's not my place to convince everyone of everything. But when I bicycle to the store, when I bicycle to run errands or to work, I'm doing something good. When I inspire my friends to do the same, several people have told me they've done the same. That's doing some good. Anyway, the sirens are going outside, and I'm going to just stop here. But I want to encourage people not to point fingers, not to watch the news, but to listen to scientists and to talk about what things they want to see society do and do them themselves. There's always something else you can do. Whether it's instead of recycling, it's just not making trash to begin with. Whether it's instead of taking a car to visit your friend, it's taking a bus or a bicycle. Whether it's, instead of getting excited and yelling at someone because they have an alternate opinion, appreciate their perspective and let it go. Just relax. Life is simple. Enjoy the things we have. 3 months ago, I was in Trader Joe's, and this lady was complaining that they moved the nuts. This is 3 months ago when the stores were completely full of food. And I said, this older lady, and I said, Don't you think it's amazing that we could come to this building and we can get anything we want at any time except for one or two things that might be in a different place or might be discontinued? She said, I know you're right. You're right. Why do we have to tell people this? The next time you go into a grocery store, even with the limited stock that there is now, this is stuff you don't have to grow. This is stuff you don't have to take anywhere. It's all brought to one place. They might not have everything you want right now. They might be out of a lot of stuff because people looted it out of panic. They still have food and you're not starving. Be grateful. Appreciate everything. And love your friends and family, despite what virus they have that has a 0.5% chance of killing you. Love them. They're your family.